So this is only going to be two documents. The other one was really bad and you couldn't tell what was going on. But it says to director from Mexico, December 21st, I guess 63. Info wave site Mexico 7489, Intel Typic and D Signet maybe. Um, we already saw this one. Sub data source D Signet from Italina and French ambassadors. Did they misspell that? Whatever. To Cuba, Cuban merchants and sugar experts. And then report class, secret, no foreign dissemination. Um, and then subject efforts of Cuban government to initiate commercial barter with West European countries and Mexico City, April 3rd. A source, Western European businessman who travels frequently to Cuba, where his company maintains commercial interests. Um, the Cuban government has renewed negotiations for the payment of debts resulting from expropriations made from certain Western European business interests. The Cuban Ministry of Foreign Trade is trying to interest West Germany, Italy, and France in commercial activities so that a favorable atmosphere will prevail at the time of the completion of the sugar crop harvest in March of 1964, when the commodity is normally marketed. Negotiations for reparations are taking from in Cuban offers to sell tobacco at discount prices. In order of priority, the Cuban government is trying to obtain fertilized transportation facilities and transportation facilities and chemical products in exchange for sugar on a straight barter deal. The Cuban government expects a bumper crop in 1964, which, if sold at the average world price of 8 cents a pound U.S. currency, should produce about $800 million in credits. Field comment source said that examination of the crop confirms that it is one of the best Cuba has made in years, and field dissemination stay econ and sync. So that's secret. And then this one's 5 pages to addressee cable and below or see below director. So all of these are being sent to these different field offices, and then certain stations and bases director recently concluded HQ's review of ZR Prima program shows that QBARC efforts have not achieved any significant results, and continuation of program as such no longer warranted. Main reason for QBARC failure is that Cuban technician recruiting program has been miserable failure when measured against Fidel's original objective of 2,000 techs from Western Europe alone. Though our figures not complete, we estimate probably less than 50 candidates have received contract approval, and we're able to confirm about 10 who have actually made it to the island. QBARC succeeded in inserting about 30 recruited techs into the various hiring channels, but so far only to have received contract approval from Havana. Cuban failure to recruit in significant numbers appears due largely to reluctance of foreign ministry and foreign service officers to pursue tech recruiting mission aggressively, bureaucratic incompetence in Havana, fear of infiltration of hostile agents, and probable loss of interest in the program on part of Castro himself. These factors, which emerged from our study on the Cuban performance account for lack of response from embassies to applications, long delay in getting word back from Havana, a small number of techs ultimately hired. Long time lag between initial application and ultimate approval from Havana, which was 6 to 9 months, has cost Cubans number of techs and were initially eager but subsequently lost interest or took other jobs. In face of foregoing, we do not believe it worthwhile to continue intense search for ZR Prima candidates for insertion in the Cuban hiring channel. Wish to stretch the stations um, with active leads should stay with them in the hope they may still be hired, but cease efforts to generate leads from scratch. On the other hand, there are a fair number non-block techs in Cuba, and it likely Cubans will continue to wrap something needed, I don't know, on limited selected basis as they did not or hire needed tags on limited selective basis as they did prior to ZR Prima program. Stations therefore are urged to continue to be on alert for such opportunities and to exploit them in same manner and all other opportunities to place resident agents in Cuba. In this connection, we note that most PB Rumen officials responsible for recruiting techs tend to rely heavily on local CP stamp of approval or other strong indication that candidate is politically acceptable. Lacking this, they may either ignore the application or reject it. Response of most stations is implementing ZR Prima has been most gratifying. We provided Cubans with good number of highly qualified engineers and technicians, which they, for reasons cited, unable to or unwilling to accept. QBark has made a respectable effort to exploit this opportunity. In fact, that we have not achieved significant results and is merely a reflection Cuban confusion and ineptitude with resultant failure achieve their own goals. Discontinued use of ZR Prima slug and file 200-120-47 comment cable predates CS files and copy may be seen in CIA reference file. And then this is just whoever signed off on it. All right, so that's the end of that one. That was pretty quick. Anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.